So, do I have to introduce David? Probably not, right? Everybody knows David. You've been doing Ashtanga, then you know who David Swenson is. Thanks, David.
Okay. Thanks for coming. Thanks, Linda.
Thank you.
Good seeing you. Good seeing you all and seeing the name of two of you. So this is an animal class, and there's a few of you here, so you get a lot of attention. Seems people were frightened of the animals, I think. Could be. But they're friendly, fun animals. You know, I haven't posted anything on Facebook or Instagram for months now, but I just did today, and a lot of it was animals. Shelley feeding bananas to our neighbors' cows and stuff like that. But anyway, here we are. Can you all hear me okay? Just wiggle your hands around or something? Okay, perfect. Good. You know, if you look at the practice, there are animals, and it seems that the yogis way back when observed nature, you know, to come up with particular ways that we move and so forth. And if you watch animals, they're really efficient, all kind of animals. They tend to not use more than they need to do whatever it is, yeah. And I love animals, I like all kind of animals, but cats really emulate this. And maybe some of you have heard me talk about cats before, but cats are really efficient, yeah. Do any of you have cats? Just go like that if you have a cat. Oh, Samira and Lawrence have a cat. Who else has a cat? Okay, Linda has a cat. Okay, well, the rest of you that do not have a cat, have you seen a cat? Okay, you've seen cats. Ati says no, she's never seen a cat. Okay, well, we'll just describe one to you in general. Would you agree that cats, for the most part, are graceful, agile, flexible? And I think that they have evolved over centuries of laziness to achieve this characteristic. If you look at a cat in their daily life, they use minimal effort to perform every task, whether it's walking or whatever, and they sleep a lot. Shelley, my wife, and I have a cat named Yogi. He's a long black cat. And he's so long, he sags a little like that. And when he walks, he kind of is like this. One less muscle, he's going to fall over. You know? And if you ever notice how a cat will lie down, it's not the same as a dog. Dogs tend to lower the back of their body first and then the front of their body. Cats, if you notice, they're something like this. Our cat's name is Yogi, yeah. He'll look up and he'll go like, I'm going down, Dad. Whoop. They just fall. Yeah. A cat lying down is like a human fainting. Every muscle just stops. Like they have a little brain in their, a little button in their brain. They push it and whoa, it's like a human fainting. Yeah. And if you watch them when they're running or in action, like if you've seen those beautiful slow motion films, like maybe the big cats, a tiger or a cheetah or something running, their paws hit the ground and pop, you see muscles fire. The moment they leave the ground, relax, active, relaxed, active, relaxed. Yeah. They go from total activation to complete relaxation, poof, like that. When we're moving or in an asana, we want to try to feel this efficiency. And I would define it like this. Our goal is to try to learn how to activate where necessary and relax where possible. Yeah. And animals have different vibes. So sometimes an animal name might emulate an animal that's more fierce or silly or goofy or whatever. Yeah. So we want to kind of feel those things. Within the practice of yoga, in general, but Ashtanga we'll talk about. What is the first animal we run across or you hear about? Dogs, right? Upward and downward dogs. So we're going to start our class with those because that means I can get you warmed up rather than going into some of the wild and crazy animals that require more flexibility. So I'm going to talk you through a couple sun salutations, maybe 2 or 3A, 1 or 2B to get you warmed up. And then we'll start breaking it down and talking about the dogs and move into other animals and see how it goes. Also, at some point, I may open up the request lines, and if there's particular animals that I have not mentioned that you want to explore, we can do that too. All right? So let's get going. Samastitihi, I'm going to do a couple sun salutations with you. So we're all in the same vibe. I want you to think like a cat or whatever animal you like. How would they be doing this right now? It's going to be kind of relaxed, not just floppy, but efficient. All right. Tap into your breath. Exhale. Surya Namaskara A. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, head up. Exhale, you can walk or hop back and lower down. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, hips back, downward dog. 1. Even when we're held still in an asana, try to use that same formula I mentioned earlier, 2, which is relax where possible and activate where necessary, 3. So certainly your neck doesn't need to be working right now. It can just be free, 4, so your head just dangles there. 5. With an inhale, you can walk or hop forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, up. Exhale, arms to your sides. Again, same thing. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, head up. Exhale, feet back and lower. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, hips back, downward facing dog. Nice full breathing. 1. Now our legs can be active just enough to keep them straight. 2. Same with the arms. 3. Shoulders can be nice and broad. 4. 5. Inhale, feet forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, up, hands touch. Exhale, arms to your sides. Let's see, one more A. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, chest up. Exhale, feet back and lower down. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, hips back, downward facing dog. Full deep breathing. 1, 2, 3. Full deep breathing is the best and quickest way to get energy and heat in the body. 4, 5. Inhale, feet forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms up, hands touch. Exhale, arms to your sides. And B. Inhale, knees bend, arms up, hands touch. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, chest up. Exhale, take your feet back and lower. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, hips back. Inhale, step right foot, arms up, hands touch. Exhale, hands down, step back and lower. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, downward dog. Other side, inhale. Exhale, hands down. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, hips back. One, two, three, four, five. Inhale, forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, knees bend, arms up, hands touch. Exhale, legs straighten, arms to your sides. One more time. Inhale, knees bend, arms up. Exhale, fold. Start to think like a cat. Inhale, chest up, or an animal. Exhale, feet back and lower, being efficient. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, hips back, downward dog. Inhale, step your right foot forward, raise your arms, hands touch. Exhale, hands down, step back and lower. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, left. Exhale all the way down. Inhale and exhale. One, two, three, four, five. Inhale, forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, bend your knees, raise your arms, hands touch. Exhale, legs straighten, arms to your sides. Okay, you should be a bit warmed up now. It's the beauty of Surya Namaskar. It brings the heat right into the body. So pretend like you're doing Surya A again. Just inhale, raise your arms up, so no need to bend the knees. Exhale, fold. Inhale, chest up. Exhale, hop back. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, downward dog. Come down to your knees, sit back on your heels, and just have a little look up here. We'll start talking about the dogs now. So if you gaze up here, so part of this class is we're going to take the animals and sort of break it down a little bit. Would you agree that when we are in upward dog, it would be a nice idea, try to figure out a good angle here, to have the shoulders in line with the wrists? That means this line. Yeah. Seems like a good idea. What happens sometimes is you see this. Shoulders way forward up by way over the fingertips. Generally that can come if the hands and feet are too close together when you first hop back. And what's interesting to me is a lot of times in Chaturanga, many teachers, possibly most teachers, will tell us that you should be at 90-degree angle with the arms. Let me just see, wiggle your hands around if you've been told your arm should be 90 degrees when you're in chaturanga position. No? Okay, most of you, but not Claire. Okay, so that's fine. However, why were you told that your arm should be 90 degrees? Generally, they'll say, oh, it's dangerous. It's too much pressure on your shoulders or elbows if you're not at 90 degrees. Here's what's strange to me. I find 90-degree angle is so much more effort and so much more pressure on your joints. Look at it logically. If we know upward dog, we want the shoulders in line with the wrists. They're already there when we first jump back. What do I have to do to get to 90 degrees? I'm going to shift my weight way forward. Whoa. I went from 50-50 or maybe 60% weight in my hands, 40% in the feet, to about, whoa, like 90% in the hands. I loaded the joints by pushing myself out to 90 degrees. I think it's harder on the joints. That's just me. Yeah. I don't want you to think that during this class, the things I'm telling you are right. I'm just trying to get you to understand that the other people are wrong. I'm kidding. I'm joking. Okay. Try both things, see what feels better. So this is just me. Instead of shifting my weight so far forward, I lower straight down and take my elbows back for chaturanga, which means when I go straight up, my shoulders are already in line with the wrists. If I'm out here, I have to pull my shoulders way back to find the wrists. If I'm straight down, instead of bringing shoulders back, my lower body comes forward. So I push with my feet to pull the lower body forward or push the lower body forward. Okay, does that make sense? Maybe. Okay, I'm going to have you do this in a moment. You can just watch. To set up your chaturanga, you'll line your belly, toes curled under, shoulders back, fingers kind of near my shoulders. The shoulders roll down, elbows in, legs active, abdominal region active, a gentle gaze forward, and then push, whoop, just above the ground, right there. And that'll be Chetwari, which is going to set us up for upward dog. So lie flat on your belly. Curl your toes under. Hands kind of just where the fingertips are near the shoulders. To start with, take your shoulders up by your ears and then roll them back. Pull your elbows in. Activate the legs and your abdominal region. Lift your chin a tiny bit so you're looking forward. Now press into the floor and just come up a little ways off the earth. Okay, hang there for a while. I'm going to go have a cup of tea. I'm kidding. Okay, stop. Come down. Good job. Now, what I'm going to have you do next looks really weird, but I'm going to have you push with your feet when you're in Chetwari, and you're going to go plopping forward onto your belly, kind of like a seal coming out of a pond or a seal coming out of a pool. So I'm here, legs active. I lift up, I push, and ploop, plop onto my belly. Okay? So go for it. Set up the Chetwari. The moment you're off the floor, push with your feet and just plop forward onto your belly. Plop. Good job. Now, you're like, why are we doing that? What did you have to do to go plopping forward? You had to push with your feet. What happens many times when people go to up dog, especially if you're at 90 degrees, there's no way to push with the feet because they're already extended. So this means you're using feet and hands. That next is going to help you to go to up dog. So once again, you're going to set it up in your Chatwari. And a moment ago, I had you plop onto your belly. What you're going to do this time, the moment you push with your feet, straighten your arms. And by magic, you'll be an upward dog. Okay, so lie on your belly. Get everything prepared. The moment you're off the floor, start to push with your feet, but straighten your arms simultaneously. Go for it. Now, you should have ended up in upward dog, but check it out when you're there. Is your shoulder in line with the wrist, or are you forward? If you're a bit forward, it just means your feet are too close to your hands, and you would start with them a little further back. Okay? Relax. Does what I'm saying make sense? That you're trying to learn to use your feet and not just your arms to upward dog, okay? Got it? Now, there's something that's interesting. All of the stuff about anatomy in the world of yoga today is new. It's all really new. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with anatomy. There's really not. But it wasn't there until recent years. Think about it. Can you imagine 5,000 years ago in a cave, two yogis practicing? Swami, activate your rhomboids. What about your rector spinae muscles, Babaji? David Williams, who was my first Ashtanga teacher, he's from North Carolina. He has a funny accent. He says, "Come on, y'all. Don't make this so difficult. Think about it. Yoga, it's just caveman exercise. How hard can it be?" Don't overcomplicate it. What I'm finding is the more people learn about the intricacies of every little thing in their body, the more they're thinking. They start thinking so much. My wife was a professional modern dancer on the highest levels in the world that you can go. She's friends with Baryshnikov. She's now a board member on Baryshnikov's Arts Center in New York. The highest level of dancers, yeah, on the planet. She's retired, of course, but in her day, right, the highest. You could get 15 of her friends with her together in a room and ask them collectively to name 3 muscles in the body. They wouldn't be able to. She's never been to an anatomy class in her life. These are elite athletes, yeah? Start to feel your body, feel the essence of these names. You watch a dog stretch. A dog doesn't have to go to upward dog school. It's a dog, right? They didn't have to learn to do that. It's a natural thing. All right? So I'm mentioning this before the downward dog because I've heard so many complicated things that people are told to try to figure out what to do with their hands and talking about little muscles and stuff. Come up like this. You see my feet are curled under and I'm sat on my heels. Extend your 2 arms in front of you, right in line with your shoulders, with your palms up. And imagine you're catching raindrops in your palms right now, okay? Now, just turn your hands and spill those raindrops out. Now catch some more. Now spill them out. And do that a couple more times. Okay, relax. Did you notice when you spilled the raindrops out, the only thing that had to move was your hands, right? You didn't have to roll your shoulders in like that. So this is a magical design of our body and our arms. We have 2 bones on the lower arm that allows the body to do that. So this time to make the point further, extend your right arm only with palms up. Take your left hand, grab the upper arm and roll it out. Now turn the hand down. Oh, check it out. Your upper arm is rolling out and your hand's rolling in. Okay, cool. Now you're sat on your feet there. Extend both arms, catch the raindrops. spill the raindrops out. Don't change anything with your arms, but shift your hands forward and then straighten your legs, push your bum back to your downward dog, and you've now figured out the position of your arms for downward dog. Yeah? And relax. Does that make sense? Yeah. I'm going to have you try one other thing in upward dog. I'm going to ask you guys a question. Do you know how to unmute yourself? You would just hit and unmute. If I ask you a question and you want the answer, just hit it and unmute. So in upward dog, what are we doing with our shoulders? What are we doing with our upper body and our upper back? Are you pulling them back toward your feet? If you are, it tends to cause pinching in the low back. But this is what people think. They come to upward dog and they start to pull their upper body back like that. If you do that, you'll feel it in your low back. So instead of pulling back, the shoulders just stay right above the wrist, and watch how my chest goes up. Can you see how I lift up? I'm thinking like there's a string right here in the chest, and it's drawing me up toward the sky. I'm not thinking of pulling my shoulders back toward my feet. So try it. Get to upward dog. And even for a moment, just kind of let yourself sag so the shoulders start to come up by the ears. Now, there's a little string attached in the middle of your chest, and someone starts to pull it straight up to the sky. That lifting of the chest actually lifts the pelvis and the legs away from the floor by that lifting in the center of the chest. Okay, relax. Next thing. The inner elbows. The inner elbows, you could have them looking in at each other. This is the inner elbow, like looking across toward the other, or point them where they look forward. When we roll the inner elbow to the front, it's okay. That tends to pull our shoulders back. The hands feel like they're rolling away, and we tend to get a lot of weight on the pinky side of the finger. So go to your upward dog. Now, look at the inner elbows and roll them so they point to the front of your mat. Do you feel how the weight kind of pushes onto the outer edges of the hands, yeah? And relax. Now this is going to feel different possibly. This time point the inner elbow in so they're looking at each other. Some people call it the eye of the elbow. Have them look in toward each other when you go to your upward dog. And sometimes that feels different. These actions with the elbow and a lifting up of the chest can really free your low back. People that feel like their low back bothers them. Okay, everyone all right so far? Okay. Now I hope you're warmed up enough. We're just going to get right into some other animals, yeah? Like Bakasana. We're going to get right in there into second series. Why not? So, some of these postures look like they take a lot of strength. But I want you to try to figure out how to support yourself on the bones and not the muscles. If we can support our weight on bones, we don't need so much muscular effort to stay there. Okay, so Bakasana is a good example of that. We're going to use the lower arms for support. And interesting, if you notice in Ashtanga where this posture is placed, if you've ever done second series, it's in there after these big back bends, yeah? So there's all this back bend sequence, and after we do Bakasana, people are thinking it's an arm balance, but it's honestly a counter pose to the back bends because we're meant to round the back a bit. So you can watch. I start with my feet together, knees together, hands on the floor. Whenever the hands are on the floor, open your fingers wide. The more surface area you cover, the easier it is to balance, the more control you have. And learn to use your fingers and your wrists like the paws of a tiger. If you see a tiger walking, like if you zoomed in on their paws, they'll kind of grip the forest floor like that. So when the hands on the floor, you're gripping the floor, not like you're trying to crush the floor, but there's resistance there. Then from this position, I take my knees out. I lift my bum up. I bend my elbows a little. I start to shift my weight forward, gripping the floor with my fingertips until my feet can come off the floor. I want you to notice my back is rounding. Remember where it happens in the context of second series is it's a counter pose. So it's meant for the back to round. So come to your mat, front of the mat, feet together. Well, you can be in the middle of the mat actually, because you need some mat in front of your feet. Hands on the floor. Now, feet together, knees together. Knees off the floor, Claire. Yes, like that. Now, take your knees outside your arms. Raise your bum up. Round your back a bit. Grip the floor with your fingers. Start to shift your weight forward. Bend your arms, Ati. It's going to be easier. And take your feet from the floor. Claire, be sure your feet are touching. Yeah, that's better. It changes the angle on the low leg. Okay, good job. Samir, you okay? If you go flying forward, that's all right. All right. Now, that's a little disappointing, I have to say, because not enough of you were falling yet. So there are some other versions of Bakasana that maybe it'll make me more satisfied. Parshva Bakasana, this sideways crane, okay? So Parshva means off to the side or sideways. So it's in a different series. But instead of going forward, you can do the forward one again if you wish. Or this time, check it out. I'm going to point my knees to the side this way. But my hands are in the same place. So there are the hands in preparation for Bakasana. They're in the same place for Parshva. Now I'm going to bend my elbows, tuck them in. And what we need to do is take our shoulders toward the floor, but also forward. We need to learn to use weight and counterweight as well. Not power and strength. I'm coming forward, but I'm also moving down, forward and down and forward and down, and boop, there's a tipping point where the feet come off the floor. You have an option with your elbows. I like to touch both elbows to my body. One of them has to touch outside the legs. The other one, I like to touch to my waist or my hips. Some people like to just let that one float out. It's up to you. So maybe point your knees off to the left side of your mat. Hands near the front of the mat. Start to bend your elbows, tuck them under your body. Take your shoulders forward and down toward the mat. Claire, you just need a little more bend in your arms. Yes, better. Better. And then try the other side. Also, Claire, that first knee needs to be a little further up on your arm. It's a little kind of down near the pointy tip of your elbow. It needs to come up a little further on your upper arm. That'll give you more stability. Silvanarita, you need to go more forward, a little more forward. Yes, like that. Let's see, Ati, go for it. Bend your elbows and lean forward. Claire, your arms are not bent enough. That's what's happening. And just relax, all of you. One reason that we would not bend our arms enough is we don't want to fall on our face, right? Like you're like, I don't want to fall on my head. So if I keep my arms more straight, I'll be safe because I'll be up here. That's true, you'll be safe. But another thing that is animal-like is we want to learn to use weight and counterweight. Yeah. Like learn to shift some weight forward and other weight back so it becomes more fluid and this opposing forces working with each other instead of just brute force. Yeah. Okay. So far. Now, yes, go ahead. Unmute yourself there, Silvana Rita.
When you're saying to go forward, is it like going forward like this or?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Just
forward like, well, let me see. That way, your hands remain, okay, let me see. Yes.
like this or this?
Your hands remain there. Your body would go that way out over the side of your mat. More. Not down, out. You're low enough, but you have to go across now. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Okay. And I guess I'm pinned, so you guys couldn't see her. So that's why one reason I don't like pinning me on the video so that you can see other people. But if you don't go far enough forward, it takes so much strength and power to try to lift up. So what happens is the lower arm has to become perpendicular to the floor. If it's a little bit back, I'm trying to lift, I can't. I have to keep going until that lower arm is perpendicular. And then it's almost like the feet just float up.
And the drishti is on the floor or forward?
Who's asking?
Should we look
Gloria?
forward or should we look down on the floor?
You know what? You look wherever makes you happy. It's okay. Yeah. Generally, drishti means we want to look in the direction we're going. So in something like Bakasana, you're looking a little forward of your hands. Like in Bakasana, if you start to look down between your hands, it'll make you feel like you're going to tumble over. If you look too far forward, it hurts your neck. So there's always like a special place, yeah, in it. Okay. Now, Bakasana happens in two fashions in Ashtanga. One is like we've just done, and then there was Parsva Bakasana, but we'll go back to Bakasana. The other is you go from downward dog and jump into it, okay? This means we need some kind of control in the hands. That control, the training for that control begins during Surya Namaskara A. Coming out of downward dog, when we're hopping forward. That action of hopping forward is training us to put weight into our hands. So already from the first Surya Namaskara, I'm trying to get this sense of weight to the hands. So presumably by the time I'm here in second series and I've done Bakasana, I bend my knees, I soften my elbows. If you notice, they're already starting to bend. I keep my head low and come forward. That was a little too low. Like this, here and forward. One trick to jumping into it is in A, the first time we do it, my gaze is right out about here. That is your balance point. The place you're looking for me right now, that is my balance point. I'm going to remember that point. When I jump into it, I'm going to try to find that spot again. I know that's my balance point. Does that make sense? So in a moment, you have the option of trying to jump into this, but you don't have to. We start in down dog and hop forward. I understand that can be really scary. Again, you don't want to fall on your face. So what you could do is start with your hands and feet closer together, really not even a downward dog, and just sort of sway forward. And then as your confidence builds, take the feet a little further back and back until you're hopping. You want to try? Okay. You can go from down dog or just start with your feet really close and just sort of sway into it. You don't have to jump. You don't win a prize if you jump into it. Remember, you want to round your back. Laurence, this time take your knees apart when you hop. Good, Claire. Claire, you just need to keep your head a little lower. Our head should remain at the same place it is in downward dog. It shouldn't come up. When we lift our head up, the bum drops and you won't have control to jump into the posture. So the head needs to remain close. Oh, okay, 3 extra points, Claire. That was a great dismount. You got to learn to fall. That's okay. Falling's fine. Okay, relax. Let's move on to another animal. Maybe something that's a little less power, but this one's a little more flexibility. The tortoise, kurmasana, all right? There is a way to jump into that, but we'll talk about it when we talk about titibhasana. We'll talk about that possibly next. Kurma, a tortoise, gets its name from the way it looks. So, as in every asana, there's many different levels or degrees, right? Depending on one's flexibility, etc. If possible, we are meant to take our arms back under our legs and flex our feet and glide our feet forward like that. Now, if you flew above me or a drone or something flew over me and you look down, you will see my legs and arms sticking out like that and my head forward, just like a tortoise. If you look at a tortoise from above, there's their shell, and then from that shell, the arms and head are extended out of the shell, right? Now, if you don't have enough flexibility, and I'll explain what enough is in a moment, I would have you hold your ankles like this and pull the chest forward until the shoulders are able to come slightly below the knees. If the shoulders are up here, you're not ready to take your arms back, because if you do, you will be right on your elbows and it's too much pressure on the elbow joint. So a little flexibility test is to do what I'm doing here and pull the chest forward. Yeah? Maybe start with that. So sit down on your mat. Take your feet just a tiny bit wider than your mat. Bend your legs. Reach your hands under the ankles and grab hold of them and pull your chest forward. Okay, cool. It looks like everybody's nice and flexible here. Now relax. Okay. Look up here. Next thing. Here's a mistake. The arms come back, that's fine. I've always taken my arms back like a jet airplane, slightly back rather than straight out. So that if you look from above, the arms and legs cross over each other like two V's facing opposite directions, right? Legs at an angle forward, arms same angle going back. But that's just the way I like to do it. It helps to keep the leg on the upper arm rather than on the elbow. But here's a mistake. People get here. Now watch what my feet do. They went out. That is going to move the leg from the upper arm onto the elbow, and you're going to have a lot of pressure right there on the joint. Instead, you're going to flex your feet and imagine they're on train tracks, and they're going to go straight ahead rather than out. So from here, I get my arms back. I flex those feet. I start to push them straight ahead on that train track, and you'll stop whenever you reach whatever your maximum depth is. Okay, so you can start with that same action, grabbing your ankles, get your chest rolling forward. And then if it feels right, take your arms back like a jet airplane, palms down, flex your feet and push your feet straight ahead, not out. And keep going until you reach your maximum. Only if your chest is on the floor should you try to raise the feet from the floor. Otherwise, don't. Claire, take your feet a little wider apart. That should feel better, I think. Okay. And relax. Or come out of there. You can come out and then relax. Okay. That's a couple basic things about Kurmasana and the mistakes. You flex the feet, push them straight ahead. Don't push them where they go out. Yeah. And you'll decide on the depth. And when you do that, your legs will stay on the upper arm and not on your elbows. It'll be much better on your joints than if you're right on the elbow. Supta Kurmasana is the sleeping turtle. Now that same turtle, when you were flying above it looking down, the first one you see its head sticking out and the arms sticking out. What does a turtle do if they become frightened? The head and the arms and legs retract inside the shell. That's what Supta Kurmasana is, the sleeping tortoise. All of the limbs and their head retract inside. Now, really flexy people, they just put their legs right behind their head and reach behind their back and clasp their hands, and wow, we're really happy for those people. Okay, and maybe some of you are those people, but if not, there's other options, right? Now, for the less flexy person that was here, it's really premature to try to take your arms back, because if you do, your shoulders will end up jammed in like mine are right here. I would have this person keep holding their feet, bring the feet in together, round their back, tuck their chin, and just take their head down this way. That would be their Kurmasana. Don't even worry about taking the hands back. Yeah, we're meant to round the back. It's a tortoise. You don't see tortoises with a flat back. Yeah. Now, those people that had the arms back, we initially soften the knees and bend them to take the weight and pressure off of the arm joints, off of the shoulders and the elbows. I then rotate my arms and bring one back and the other. And we're actually meant to bring our hands first and then try to wriggle the feet in. Maybe they come all the way, maybe they come a little ways, and you take your head down, and that's Supta Kurmasana. Yeah. And that wriggling the feet is funny, but notice I said take your hands first. The exception to that is people that are putting their legs behind their head. Those people will take their feet behind their head first. But if you're not going that far, you take the hands first, and here's why. Sometimes people take their feet first. They're out here and they bring the feet in, Now look what my shoulders just did. Do you see how they're jammed in like this? Wow, you're really constricted. And honestly, this is dangerous, because then what happens is someone might come and pull your hands, or you try to bind and you start to do this. It's a lot of pressure on your clavicle bones and your sternum. Yeah. All of this action can be too much. The reason we take hands first, so the feet are still apart. Now I can keep my shoulders further away from each other when I take the hands back. And that'll tell me, oh, maybe my feet just go that far today. If you don't clasp your hands, okay, get as close as you can. But go for the hands first, and then your feet, unless you're the flexi legs behind the head person. Let's see. And one drawback of Zoom is I have no way of helping you. So if you get stuck there, there's nothing I can do. And Ati, I see you wriggling those fingers. You're close, but you're almost there. Okay, and then just wriggle about and try to find a way to come out of there. It's possible to use a little towel or a strap or something, but it gets weird, right? Because you're doing some weird, like, you're trying to flip it around with one hand. And if you can't clasp today, fine, you just don't clasp. If you're really close to clasping, like Ati, possibly you would be able to do this. Bend your knees more when you're taking your hands back. And with them really bent with the feet apart, try to get the hands clasped and then try to bring them closer in. That might help. The main thing is we don't want you to, okay, don't want you to hurt yourself. All right, that's Kurma and Supta Kurma. So Kurmasana and Supta Kurmasana happen in first series. In second series, we have Titibhasana. Yeah, we're going to look at that posture next because they're kind of related. If you've ever attempted this in first series, the way that we exit Titibhasana, the way that we exit Kurmasana, the tortoise, is through Titibhasana. Titi is a insect, a flying insect. Yeah. Zzz, is going to fly around. And there's this weird way of coming out of Supta Kurmasana. Some people do it with their legs still crossed, or possibly they're back here, they're in Kurmasana.
David, we can't hear you.
We cannot hear you, David. Maybe the mute button is kind of on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh.
So we missed the explanations.
So I think you need to do it again.
I can't really remember what I was saying, but wow, it was profound. I mean, it was something life-changing. It was incredible. I wish I could remember those words. It might have just changed everything for you.
Let's try to do it again.
So, oh, I remember what I said was, and that's what it is. Okay, sorry, you guys. I don't know when I cut out. Was it before I lifted up?
At the beginning of the pose.
Okay, so I was saying that there's a funny way of exiting this. And in first series, we're doing Kormasana Super. And there's this funny way that people exit. They wriggle their hands under their body. Some people, the legs would still be crossed or behind their head. And we would call them insect push-ups because we would push up like that into this insect posture. We call them insect push-ups because there's this sort of weird action like that. But coming out in first series, we wouldn't stay here. We'd come Titibhasana, Bakasana, and back. So in the primary series, there's a little moment where we pass through these things that in second series will hold them. But in first series, we go Titibhasana, Bakasana, foof, back. So to enter Titibhasana, we have the possibility to go from down dog. That's why in first series, we learned to enter Bhujapidasana, right? And the way that we enter Bhujapidasana, we've already spoken about it, but a funny image I use for Bhujapidasana is our legs love our arms. Our legs are like, oh, arms, ooh, arms, I miss you so much, arms. Oh, arms, I think I love you. They hug the arms, yeah? There's this rolling around and hugging thing and a little bending, and that's that sort of platform we land on. So you're gaining control for that in the first series. And if you're not yet jumping into Bhujapidasana, you can hop the feet forward, kind of getting that sense of weight in the hands, and then wriggle the feet forward, etc. By the time we get to second series, expected that you have enough control that you may try to jump into Titibhasana. But instead of hugging the legs round, my legs come in and they extend forward like this. What is it that would cause this to happen? Like, let's say I bring my legs forward and I extend them and whew, I splat down. If that's occurring, that tells me that you weren't using your adductor muscles. The adductor muscles are the muscles inside of our legs that help us to bring our legs together, to adduct them, to bring them together. So if I'm not doing that and I straighten the legs, I slide down. I learned Titibhasana, the insect pose, in a fashion that we were told to try to keep our bum and feet on the same level. Some people now do it like this, down. We always did it up like this. Bum and feet on the same plane. Yeah. I'm going to let you try this in a moment. You don't have to jump into it as I did a moment ago. You can enter, hopping or walking your feet forward. I bend my arms, kind of like I'm going to do Bhujapidasana. But then, instead of crossing the feet, I start squeezing the legs in against my arms and see if I can lift them forward. Or if you want to try to jump in, you can. So, get your preparation happening. You can repeat Bhujapidasana if Titibhasana is too much. Good. Squeeze your legs in against your arms. That's it, Laura. Go for it, Claire. A little bend in the arms. Claire, your arms are too straight. That's why you're falling back. Okay, relax. Samir and Laurence, let's see. I didn't get to see what you guys are doing. Let's see, go in. Good. Try pointing your feet, Samir. Point them. Okay, relax. Flexing the feet is fine, but it actually takes more flexibility on the back of the leg. So if you don't have a lot of flexibility, you're better off pointing the foot. And generally speaking, in Ashtanga, anytime a hand or foot is in space, they're pointed. Generally, the feet aren't flexed when they're out in space, like in Titibhasana, Uttanapadasana, Uttita Hasta, Padangustasana, C, whatever. The feet are pointed, or headstand or shoulder stand, etc. So you need the legs pulling in against the arms. Okay? Questions in Titibhasana?
Is that questions just something that I didn't think about the adductor for the Titibhasana?
Did it help? The adductor
Yeah,
muscle thing
it's
help?
like, oh, yeah, it's really like I'm squeezing in,
Yeah.
and it's more center of gravity is stronger. So then,
Yeah. Then the contact point of leg on the arm gives you stability. If you don't use the adductor muscles, you're trying to use all these other muscles to hold you up there, and it feels like someone trying to climb off a flagpole that has oil on it. You know, it's like you just slip down. Yeah. So there are 4 phases to Titibhasana. I don't know how many you want to try, yeah? But A is a challenge. B is difficult, but in some ways it requires less sort of power because your feet are on the floor rather than floating in space, yeah? And I'm going to have to, well, I'll see. I'm trying not to aim my backside at the camera, but maybe let's see if I go from the side, that actually might be a better angle. Okay, so from here, A is forward, like this. To go to B, I take my head down and my bum up. Yeah, is the possibility. So I'm squeezing my legs in and I get this dropping of head and bum to get this swinging up. Then we are meant to take our hands behind the back. If possible, catch our fingers, straighten the legs, tuck our chin, and look up. It is a weird looking posture. My brother, who also teaches yoga, he calls this asana, Titibhasana B, he calls it the astronomer's pose. Because if done correctly in Titibhasana B, you can see Uranus. Because you really tuck your chin and look up, yeah? Now, it takes a lot of flexibility. It's helpful to bring your feet a little wider than normal, yeah? And you can begin with your legs bent, yeah? So legs are bent as I take the hands back, and then I can try to straighten. Now, if you don't have a lot of flexibility, you can just take the hands to the back of your ankles and try to pull your shoulders through like that, or maybe just take the hands a little ways, but you can play around with it. If you want to try to enter from Titibhasana B, A, or Titibhasana A, where you do that tipping thing, you can, or just start by standing on your feet and put your hands down and grab your ankles.
David,
Claire, take your feet slightly wider apart. Take your feet a little further apart, Claire. There you go. Question, Ati?
Yeah, if somebody couldn't bind in Subtak Brahmasana, do you think it's really nice to just go up there? Do you think it's accessible for that person to do that? You know, binding when
You can still do it without binding. Yeah, it's okay. No problem. You could hold the back of the legs or just get your hands as close as you can. No problem. Laura, I don't know how to pronounce your name right, but is that close?
It's Laure, but it's hard for
Say it again.
Laure.
Law. Sounds so much nicer than what I'm saying. You know, I'm from Texas. We can barely speak English. So, law. Take your feet a little further apart. It'll be helpful.
Okay.
Laurence, try to straighten your legs and tuck your chin. If you take your feet slightly wider, Laurence, it might help. Also, Samir, take your feet a little wider apart. Sovanarita, take your feet a little wider apart. You'll feel more space if you go a little wider than you think. Yeah, even if you're unable to bind, it still gives more space to get in there further. Okay, and relax and come down. This asana has 4 phases, and we actually don't even come down between. We just keep flowing one to the next. And if you've ever done this sequence, by the last one, your legs are like screaming. They're like, wow. That's normal. It's actually meant to be like that, yeah? Tittibhasana C is really strange. It just makes you wonder, like thousands of years ago in a cave, what were they thinking? Was it one of them goes, hey, Swami, check it out. And they just start like walking back and forth like that. Like, yeah, write it down. That's a good one. We're meant to try to take 5 steps forward and 5 steps back with the hands behind the back. Yeah. But when we say walking, that's not quite accurate. Yeah. Because walking, we would think of like this. It's walking more in the sense of walking like a zombie. Or maybe like in Michael Jackson's Thriller, it's like, oh, 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 oh. It's this sort of, you tip to one side so the weight comes into that foot, and then the other one comes around like that. You tip your weight over here to unweight that foot and turn the body. So the walking occurs in that sort of funny zombie sort of action of the boop. Yeah. Now you don't have to be binding. Maybe the hands are just a little behind. You can also hold on to your feet and just try walking, zombie walking 5 steps forward and 5 steps back. Or just repeat something else we've done that was fun. Remember, you've got that slightly wider stance. That's it, Claire. Yeah, shift the weight. That's it. Yeah, you kind of shift from one foot and lean over. And it's that tipping side to side that gives you the control. Good job, everyone. All right, nice. Good job. Okay. D is the one where your legs really start going, whoa. What we do, and there's all different degrees of this as in any posture, yeah. The hands come away from the back. We try to get the shoulders behind the legs as much as we can and bring the heels together. Wriggle our fingers around, tuck our head, and take the hands behind. Really flexy people, the hand would come right behind the head. But what you do is your feet get close together like a ballet dancer turned out, knees bent in a little plie, the chin tucks to the chest, and the fingers wrap around behind the head. If you want to try it, go for it. So you get the shoulders first as far behind your legs as you can. Sovanarito, put your hands on your ankles now. Use your hands to help you get the shoulders behind first, and then bring the ankles close together. And then you tuck your chin to your chest and try to lace the fingers back behind your head. Law, take the hands behind your head now. Law, take the hands behind your head, around your ankles. Yeah, they don't stay behind your back. And then, now, no, Sovanarita, try to touch your heels together. Try to touch them together. That's it. Now, place your hands on the mat and go back to where you started. Drop your bum, lift your legs right back to the first Tittibhasana. Extend your legs forward. And then from there, you would try to curl your feet back and shoot them back behind you. We'll talk about that now. So relax. Did you feel your legs in that last one start to go like, whoa, what are you thinking? I don't want to be here, yeah? So that transition from Tittibhasana to take the legs back, we want to try to use weight and counterweight. As much as possible in postures, we want to try to figure that out. Oppositional forces. If something moves back, something moves forward. If something moves right, something goes left, et cetera, trying to find that balance. So if I want to lift something at the back of the body, I take something in the front of the body down to try to get like a seesaw effect. So if I want to transition from Tittibhasana back through Bakasana, some things that are going to make that a problem is if I leave my bum low, my feet hit the floor and I've got a hard time going back. So we want to use weight and counterweight. Remember, I'm squeezing my legs in against my arms. I'm going to take my head down and my bum up in order to get, whoops, I went too far. In order to get my feet back. So I'm squeezing here to get that effect. If I don't take my head down and bum up, my feet just collapse on the floor. You need to keep squeezing the legs in against the arms, but like the first time I squeezed in so much, I flew off the arm. But what will happen is, if we're not squeezing in enough, we start to take them back. I'm going to ooze down onto my inner legs, and you'll look like this, which is also perfectly fine and legal. But if you want to get higher, the back has to round and the bum has to come up in the air. Okay, if you're feeling like it, try that transition. So you get those legs extended and think like a seesaw. The head down, bum up. Head down, bum up. Squeeze the legs in against the arms as you take the feet back. Feet faster, okay. Okay, so far, everyone all right? Any questions before we look at another animal?
I was out of the breath doing that.
Good. That's normal. Yeah, it's normal to get winded, yeah? And in the practice, whenever that starts to happen, like if we find ourselves going like, just stop what you're doing for a moment, come back to your breath, and then try to go back in, yeah? Because if the breath becomes ragged or choppy, the same thing starts to happen in the practice. We lose control and like that. So it's normal to become winded, like you said, but just try to grab hold of the breath. And that's where we want to try to learn to be really efficient like an animal. Just where we need muscles, use them, and learn how to use weight and counterweight so we can be a little more relaxed. Yeah, that's the goal anyway. And honestly, in teaching Ashtanga, nowadays there's all these, I call them landmark asanas. Like if you can't bind your hands in Mrityasana D, you have to stop. Or if you can't do Supta Karmasana, cross your feet, bind your hands, you're stopped, all this kind of stuff. I don't stop people for that reason in their practice. I don't stop people because of a lack of flexibility. I'll stop people when they start to lose integrity of practice. I would define integrity of practice by the level of focus and breath and presence. Yeah. If you can keep your breath full, I let people just keep going. Yeah. By modifying stuff. So, next. Now, this next posture, if you're unable to do it freely, you may have to use a wall. Unless you have somebody to help you, like Samir and Laurence, you have a buddy next to you, you can help each other. Otherwise, you may have to use a wall. So in the sequence in second series, there's a funny story to me. I just realized there's a story there. All these animals come out. So in Titibhasana, this flying insect, I realized, oh, there's a whole bunch of animals here. The animal after Titibhasana is Pinchamayurasana. That's feather of a peacock. So I realized, oh, this insect flies over there and it bites the peacock in the tail feather. And then the peacock lowers its feather and becomes angry and frightens the crocodile. The crocodile chases the horse. The horse jumps over the crossbow of the gate, lands on a cow's face, causes a little thunderbolt, and inspires you to do 7 headstands. So that's what happens in the second series. But we're going to look at some of the animals. So the insect bites the peacock in the tail feather. Pinchamayurasana is a dynamic posture where we balance on our forearms. I want you to imagine that your lower part of your arm, they're like big feet. The elbows are like the heel of the feet, and our hands and fingers are like the toes. These giant, like clown-sized feet. You know, they're on the mat. So we're going to use our fingers to grab the floor, just like we would our toes if we were standing on our feet. And we can attempt this just one leg at a time to get a sense of it. And a lot of times before we do a headstand, we'll do this thing, you know, we catch our elbows like that. That's because we want to stay more or less shoulders width apart, but you can even be a little wider. And we'll talk about that more in a moment, elbow width and hands and stuff. But to start with, we get our arms like that. I look at the floor between my wrists, not way out by the fingertips. Looking out like this is too much pressure on the neck, and it will also be pressure on your low back. If I look back, that's okay, but the tendency is you'll then flip over. So the best place to look is somewhere between the wrists. Yeah. I look there. We get our feet kind of forward and raise one leg up. And then I put that one down and I try raising the other leg up. That's where we're going to start. So go back to your mat, put your forearms down there on the mat. And gaze down there between your wrists somewhere. Straighten both your legs, kind of walk them forward and raise one leg up. And then take that leg down and take the other leg up. And relax and come down. When we try to take both legs up, and you may have already experienced this, but you may discover something about your body parts, specifically your arms. you may discover that our hands love each other. Yeah. They're talking to each other. Right hand says, oh, left hand, I miss you. No, right hand, I miss you more. No, I miss you. No, I miss you. Oh, I can't bear to be apart. Let's meet in the middle. Ticka, 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 ticka. And they come running toward each other. You may also simultaneously discover that the elbows are not that fond of each other. I don't like you, right elbow. Well, I like you, left elbow. Well, I'm leaving. Not if I leave first. Dot, 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 dot. And they go like that. If both of these things occur, this would be the result. Imagine you're beneath me. I'm on a piece of glass doing Pincha Mayurasana and my hands and arms do this. The result will be this. You will eat your mat. Your face will come right down to the mat if all of this stuff happens, yeah? So one little thing you can attempt to avoid that is take your arms like this, like you're sort of a genie here, like this in front. Now, don't move your elbows, but raise both hands, whoop, like that. What you just did is externally rotated your upper arms. So that action from here to here is an external rotation of the upper arms. That's what you're going to try to do when your hands are on the floor. If they still want to come in, you can use your thumbs like little bumpers so they can touch, or maybe even the fingers come in like a little diamond shape there. We're just trying to avoid that. Okay, so far? Now, in order to get the feet up there, you're going to have to hop. Now, there are people that can lift one leg right up. They tend to have a special configuration in their body. It might be a longer torso, really flexible hamstrings. So they get their feet really close to their body. They raise one leg up and they just lift that other leg up. Yay for them. Okay. Most people are going to need to hop up. When we jump up, you can go one leg at a time. Now I'm going to give my legs a number. Let's say that the leg that is in the air is leg number 1, and the leg that's on the floor is leg number 2. Which leg helps me go to Pincha Mayurasana, leg number 1 or leg number 2? How many of you think it's leg number 1? Go like that. How many of you think it's leg number 2? Wiggle your hands around. How many of you aren't sure? Okay. I think it's the leg on the floor. The leg on the floor is the one that should propel us up. What happens if I use the leg that's up in the sky is there's a tendency people just take that leg and they throw it up in the air. And you fling that leg up in the air, and the momentum of that flinging lifts the other leg off the floor. And there's a moment where we're like, yay, my leg's off the floor. Leg number 2 chases leg number 1, and woof, over we go. Yeah. If instead we raise that one leg, one up in the air, leg number 1, and then we push off from the floor, and you can even stop in the splits like I'm doing up here. You can push off and stop with the legs open and then close them like scissors coming together. It's okay to use a wall. And even if you're using leg number 1 to fly you up there, that's okay. But if you want control, it's better to learn to push off from the floor, stop with the legs split for a moment, and bring them together. Go for it if you wish. If you do not have a wall, you can just play around with one leg up. Samir, you need to be a little further back so her leg comes a little more back. Yeah. because she has to take that leg further back initially. Laurence, that first leg has to fly back further toward where Samir is standing. Better. Maybe start with your feet closer to your arms, Laurence. Claire, you're going to have to get your feet closer to your arms, even if the legs are bent. So bend your legs, get them closer. Yeah. Careful you don't get kicked in the head there, Laurence. When that leg flies up, don't let him kick you. There. So Vanarita and Law, I think you're both like, you know the wall's there, so you're just going, poof, hit the wall, hit the wall. You know it's there. Try not to hit it. You know what I mean? So you might even move just like 3 inches further than you normally go and fling that leg up there and see if you can stop in a scissor split before you hit the wall. Feet together, Laurence. Better. Grip the floor with your fingertips. Hold the floor. Hold the floor. Okay, relax. There's a couple little sort of subtle things. You see my shoulder and elbow. If it's a little too far back, or maybe even if it's in line with the shoulder itself, it's going to be hard to get off the floor. I'm going to be stuck back here. Initially, I may have to bring my shoulder a little forward of my elbow in order to get up there. However, that's a little tricky. If I go too far and I go up, I'm going to splat down. But you may have to bring your shoulder a little forward of the elbow when you first go up. And then as the legs come off the floor, you can find the shoulder elbow alignment again. If you want to do this without a wall, you have to learn to fall. It's the way it is. Anything that requires balance requires falling. The greatest ballet dancers in the world, the greatest gymnasts, they all fall. Yeah, it's just part of the thing is falling. You have to learn how to fall. Really flexy people go into a back bend. Their feet, they just bend their knees and they flip over into a back bend. You can also learn to tuck your chin and roll over. Yeah. All those things are okay. I would recommend practice outdoors in a park in the grass. Yeah. When we learned yoga, it was outside. It was in a softer surface in the grass. It was not as scary or as intimidating to fall on the earth. When yoga moved indoors and there's these hard surfaces, and it's much more intimidating. So practice outside, fall in the grass, or go to the sand or the beach or something like that. It's easier to and less intimidating to fall. Okay. Questions in Pincha Mayurasana? So that's the feather of, yeah, go ahead, Ati.
Do we need like shoulder stability? I'm feeling like my shoulder is kind of like, and it's kind of affect my balance. Like I'm feeling my shoulder is moving. I don't know how to kind of like make it.
Can I see you try to go up? I thought I saw you going up there with no wall or anything, though. It seemed like you did it.
The wall?
No, no wall. I mean, you did it before with no walls. So take your shoulders a little more forward. Now go up. Yeah. I don't know if you guys can see, but she's up there and you would give her no sympathy right now because she's just right up there in the posture.
My shoulder is shaking. Like I cannot hold it for long, like chiropractor I couldn't. It's shaking here.
Yeah. So you can experiment, Ati, with maybe the elbows and even the hands a little wider apart. Play with the distance between. Sometimes if they're too close in, it's harder. You might just experiment a little, or maybe even the hands slightly in instead of totally parallel, let them come in a little bit. I think that'll help. Yeah. Okay, now the whole bird. Yeah. Mayurasana. So feather of the peacock, like if you've seen a peacock, like, you know, the guy peacocks, they're trying to oppress the girl and they'll lift their feathers up in the sky and go like, and open them up and they go like, hey, check it out, I'm cool. Yeah. Then what they do, that's feather of the peacock. So your feathers were up there a moment ago. When a peacock's just hanging out and walking around, their feathers are way behind them, almost on the ground, just in this long bunch together. They're not open. And that's the next phase. And there's a whole convoluted way to enter this from standing, where you do like a sun salutation with your hands backwards and all that. But we're just going to go from this position. You can just watch first. My knees are open. My feet are together. My toes are curled under. I'm going to turn my hands backwards and keep my elbows as close together as possible. You can have hands together or separated. Together makes it easier to keep my elbows in, but harder to balance. Hands separated makes it easier to balance, but harder to keep elbows close together. If the elbows do not remain close together, what's going to happen is the elbows will come out and you'll just sort of splat down onto the floor between your arms. So I'm going to round my back so that I can get my elbows way down as close to my low belly as possible, way down. My hands turned backwards. I'm going to tuck my chin to my chest and let the top of my head come down onto the mat. I'm looking back through my arms at my feet. I walk my feet back and I'm letting my weight rest onto my elbows so my bum has dropped. I lift my head from the floor. Now we can't just take the feet off the floor. What I need to do is start to lean forward, weight and counterweight. I start to lean forward. As I do, I start to activate the muscles of my back, lifting my chest up. I keep leaning forward until I reach that tipping point that I can get my feet off the floor. Yeah. So I'll talk you through all these phases. On your mat, feet together, curl your toes under, knees apart. Pull your elbows in, hands backwards. Bend your elbows, get them as close down to your navel, even below your navel. Tuck your chin to your chest. Round your back and take the top of the head onto the floor. Top of the head, right down to the floor, Claire, go for it. Walk your feet back to the back of the mat and touch your feet together. You'll feel the weight coming onto your arms. Feet have to go further back, Claire. Now take your head from the floor. Start to push with your feet, leaning forward. The more forward you go, you start lifting your chest. And you keep going forward until your 2 feet come from the floor. Samir, your elbows slipped a little apart. Yeah. If you're feeling it in your wrists, it tells me you're not going far enough forward. Yeah, like I see Sovanarita, you're kind of going like that. You got to lean your upper body toward the front of the mat. That takes the pressure out of the back edge of that wrist crease. You need to start lifting your chest a little more, Ati. Ati, your head's too close to the floor. As you start going forward, start to arch your back and lift your chest more as you're coming forward. Claire, keep those elbows close together. Okay, everyone relax a moment. I don't know if this word is used in all different cultures, but when my wife Shelley and I teach together and she is trying to explain to people how to do this posture, she says, regardless of gender, you have to think cleavage. Cleavage is the space between a woman's breasts, yeah? So what you do is you take your arms from the outside in, not from straight forward and in like that. If you come from out in, whatever you have, it could be way out here, yeah? So then the elbows can come close together, not on top. So even male or female, you come from outside in, and then you try to enter, yeah? Try one more time. And remember, you can try hands apart or hands together. Try both and see which feels better for you. Everyone okay? If you're unable to keep the elbows close together, it's just so hard because they come apart and you just keep splatting down between. The day that you can keep your elbows close together, they don't have to be touching, they need to be kind of close. The day that you can do that, there's so much more support and it's less muscles. Then it's the muscles of the back that help us to get in there. Yeah. But if the elbows keep sliding out, it's a little bit of a problem. Now I've seen students like tie a strap or something around their arms. I'm just not a big fan of that because there's no escape. Once you're strapped in, you're just stuck there. And I think you risk hurting your shoulders or something. Better to just wait until you can find out a way to keep the elbows in. Okay? Questions? Okay, then. We're going to look at another one that is a little in that category of what were they thinking? Like, how did this come about? It's called Nakrasana, the crocodile. Yeah. This is a weirdo posture. Yeah. But it comes from like Chetwari position, but my feet are together. And then from here, we're going to start this hopping thing, like whoop, this action of hop, hop, hop. Yeah. When I hop, I'm attempting to use my fingers and wrists and hands also, pushing off, not only arms. And if you notice, my arms never fully straightened. They pumped like this. If I stood here and all I used to jump up were my legs, boo, the whole house shakes, yeah? Instead, when I use my legs, I'm also going to push off from my ankles and my toes. This action, like a dancer jumping, gives me the control. So we're trying to do that with our hands and our feet pushing with our wrists and fingers like little springs. Yeah. Now, actually, let me just see you try that. Then we'll talk further. So go back there to your mat. Feet together, lower down, and then pump your arms. Push, push, push like that. Go for it. Sovanarita, don't straighten your arms. It's not like a push-up. The arms should never straighten. They just pump, pump, pump. That's right. But then try to spring with those wrists as well. Laurence, you've got to lower down more. Okay, relax. I just wanted to see the situation. Now, this one does take a lot of strength, but you can kind of use momentum by pushing your bum up in the air. So you kind of lead with your bum and getting the timing right. The bum starts to go up and you're pushing and get this sort of like springing action from the bum creating momentum and the arms following that momentum. Yeah. However, you can practice this just using half of your body at a time. I don't recommend just using right side or left side. I recommend using either feet or hands, not just off to the side. So half of the body means I could just hop with my feet only to try to get a sense of that hopping from my toes and my ankles. And I can try from my arms. And then as those things start to feel better, you can then try both at once. So go for it. Try the front or back of the body only. Laurence, you need to bend those arms more. They need to be really bent. Like chaturanga, yeah, from there. Right, that's it. Don't straighten your arms, Ati. Don't do like push-ups. That's right. Keep the arms bent. That's it, Claire. Good. Let's see, Laura. Let's go. That's right. Obviously, the feet side works better than the arm side. Samir and Laurence, it looks like you have a little rabbit or something in there hopping around. Looks like their daughter or some cute little elf in there hopping around. Okay. How are you feeling? Okay. We're going to look at two more postures. Yeah, we got time for a couple more. One is Gomukhasana, the cow's face. Yeah, Gomukha. I'm going to show you two ways that it's been taught. The way it was originally taught actually feels better. I'm going to show you backwards. I put my right leg over the left. My feet pointed out to the sides like that with my bum on the floor. Yeah. So looking from the front, it looks like this. And this is the way it was taught way back when. And it's not now, but it feels better. The feet are pointed this way. Then whatever leg is on top, I take that arm up. Other arm behind, I try to clasp my fingers together. Phase one is here. And phase two, I would lean over. Now, if you were flying above me again, like you're a bird up there and you look down, my head is the shape of a cow's face. My elbow out here is the chin of the cow and my feet are their ears. So you've got that cow's face shape, yeah? So you can try that. Sit down, left foot out, right foot over. Your knees are stacked over each other. If we have the right leg up, then the right arm raises up, left arm comes behind. trying to clasp. And then you would look up. That would be phase one. And then phase two, you bow forward over your legs. And if you imagine your body now looking from above, it's like a cow, the shape of a cow's face. And then come up and change your legs. Lo, lo. Let your bum come to the floor for this one. The way you're doing is what we're going to try next. This is like the easier way. Other leg on top. So let your bum come right down to the floor, lo. Yeah. So the feet come out beside the hips. And then you bow forward over the legs. Left arm would be up this time, right arm behind. And then come up and relax. It's not taught that way in Ashtanga today. If you did that, you probably get like yelled at, you know? Or they might even say, who showed you that? If that happens to you in a class, I want you to look at that teacher and tell them Richard Freeman showed you that. It wasn't me, it was somebody else. However, this is the way it's taught today. My right leg's on top. We try to get our feet really close together and lean back. And it's really kind of wonky to balance there. So with my feet really close together and pointed, my bum is not on the floor. We try to sit on the heel. Maybe it doesn't even reach there. And we balance like that first. And then here, but you don't have to fold forward. So it would be balanced up here, pulling my chest through and shoulders back. And then same idea, if right leg is on top, right arm is up. It's really hard to balance. You try to get your ankles really close together and feet pointed. So your bum is not on the floor. Try to touch your feet together beneath you. And then start to sit back and grab the upper knee with two hands and pull your chest through and your shoulders back and your chin down toward your chest to start with. And then whatever leg's on top, you raise that arm up and over and the other arm behind. If you want to increase the excitement, you look up. And the balance even becomes more fun. Very good, you guys. And then change to the other side. Ati, is it Julie or Ati Julie or Julie Ati?
Ati.
Ati, okay, Ati. Don't cross your feet over. Keep them both on the floor, yeah? Yeah, that's right. All right. And release. We're going to end with a funny one. Yeah.
Just a question, David. Is it normal to have the hips not squared, or should we have
the? Yeah,
okay.
It's like survival. You do whatever you have to do to survive. It's okay if they're not square.
Okay.
Don't worry. This next one is called Simhasana, the lion pose. And it can be done in a whole lot of different ways. If possible, we were meant to jump up to a handstand, put our legs in lotus in handstand, lower the lotus down onto the floor, and then go like an upward dog in the lotus and go, ah. like a lion. Or you can do it from just sitting in lotus, or you can do it without being in lotus. You can do it in all kind of different ways. But if you're a lotus sitter, yeah, we would sit in lotus and roll up under our knees, and I'd take a breath, and then you're meant to go, and then like a lion. If you're not in lotus, you can do that from crossed legs. You'd come here and go. You can even do it from like an up dog. You stick your tongue out, open your mouth, and just go like a lion. The big lion breath, like and you would do it like 5 times, whatever. You would inhale as you lean back. Then when you come forward, and then it's supposed to be good for sore throats. I don't know if it means causing sore throats or curing sore throats. And you kind of look up. You'd be like, up, yeah. And then sit back. You can even do it just sitting still. Like you can just be sitting in lotus or something and just go, and you'll get the same kind of thing going. All right. So we've only got like a couple minutes left. I'm just going to leave that to see if there's any questions you might have or any things you want to talk about for a moment here. Anything you want to comment or ask about from the class? Or anything.
Well, I found that I think it's the bird pose.
What's the bird?
Is it the bird, or like this, and
I can't see you.
Mayurasana.
The peacock.
the
The peacock,
Yeah,
yes.
a peacock, yeah.
I found that one really stressful. I mean, it was. I did feel comfortable in that position.
That's normal.
Entering in that one.
But here's the thing, right? It's the first time we do an asana, it may not be comfortable. And sometimes they're actually meant to be uncomfortable so we can learn how to relax our mind and our breath, even in the face of adversity. You understand? It shouldn't hurt. I don't want it to be painful. But if it's uncomfortable, like, that's kind of normal. And we attempt to learn to treat every asana equally. I love this asana. I hate this asana. It's okay to hate an asana. We just hate it for 5 breaths when we're in it and then done. Go on to the next thing. But what can happen over time is as at first it's all kind of uncomfortable. And then as you try it over and over, you might find greater ease with it. Or not. Sometimes people hate a posture their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And it never gets easier. And it's interesting to kind of explore those. So I don't want you to be in pain, because pain might signal that we're doing something wrong.
Yes.
But I've got postures I don't like, and they might surprise you, like Utthita Hasta Padangustasana, when you have to fold over the leg. I'd rather go to the dentist. I really don't like the posture. Baddha Konasana, also. I'd rather have my tooth drilled than do Baddha Konasana. And sometimes it's not from the pain, it's just in my head. I start going, ooh, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. I want to go, I want to go, I want to get out of here, I want to get out of here. But instead, even if that's happening in my mind, outwardly, you would see me going, because it's sort of entertaining to go like, wow, why am I freaking out here? Sometimes it can be a feeling of panicking because doing all this stuff, your breath starts to become restricted. Yeah. Because you
Yes.
kind of hold your breath when you're trying to do some of these postures that are challenging, and that can cause a sensation of panic. So you have to try to figure out how to relax. And that sounds odd, but even if something's intense, you relax. I'm here in Hawaii right now in Maui, and I like to surf. I've done surfing a lot of my life. Yeah. My friends, I have friends who surf the giant waves here. I don't surf those waves. They'll surf waves that are 60 feet, you know, like massive waves. They'll all tell you they're frightened. They will tell you they're frightened. I promise you, a person that says, I fear nothing is destined for tragedy. But these guys train every day over and over and over, and they're athletes and water people, you know, they hold their breath, they train to do it. Yeah. But they respect the power of the ocean and they're frightened. But if they get tumbled and they're underwater, they have to relax because you start to burn oxygen when you start to become frightened. So the same idea when you're approaching postures, you try to remain calm, go, I'm just going to breathe. I'm going to listen to my breath and try to go in and then come out. Maybe stay one breath and exit. The other thing I'll tell you, Silvanarita, you can live a happy, productive, and incredibly satisfying life and never do Maya Asana. So that's also okay. Just don't do it. If it's uncomfortable too much, do something else. It's all right.
It's just that it was really strange for me to feel that way. You know, it wasn't painful. It's just in my mind. It was
I understand.
Really, yeah.
I think that it might be that it feels restricting. Yeah. Or sometimes people will feel that like in Karnapidasana or Pindasana in closing sequence, when you lower your knees, your legs down toward your body, and it feels claustrophobic, like you're kind of like, oh.
I'm okay when I'm doing that posture.
Yeah, I understand. It's not uncommon, but you can just look at it logically and go, I can come out of this any moment I want to. I don't have to stay here. And you just talk to your mind, go, hey, mind, I understand, but we're just going to be in here one breath and then we'll go do something fun.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah? You're welcome.
David, I have questions. Why is it so hard to balance in that pose? I don't know, like which one I'm tipping. Like I always tipping over into one side.
Try taking your hands apart. So I mentioned that in the beginning, but it might have been too much information coming at once. If you have your hands together, it's easier to keep the elbows under the body, but it's harder to balance. If you can do it with your hands apart and pull the elbows in, it's easier to balance. So hands separated a little bit and then elbows in like that can give you a good, easier time balancing. Because when they're so close together, that's where you get that wobbly side to side thing, that feeling, yeah? That makes sense? Claire, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to say it was fun to try the peacock. I could do it when I was 9 years old. When I'm trying it, it's like I'm back being 9 years old again. So thanks for that.
That's a good feeling. You know what? I got to say, it's a nice thing. Just approach your yoga like a child. Generally, children don't care if they fall. They just kind of laugh it off. Something happens as we get older and become an adult. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, we're worried to make a mistake, or we think we're going to be judged, or we feel bad if we fall over. A kid will just fall over and get up and try it again and fall, and it's freedom. The day we can gain a little sense of humor about this whole journey, the day we have more freedom, yeah? Now, I told Linda that I would exit here on time because they have another class starting, I think, soon after this one. But I don't want to go away without first saying this. Thank you guys so very much for coming here. I truly appreciate it. You could have been anywhere doing anything, and you chose to spend these moments with me. I don't take it lightly. I love you. Please take good care of yourself. Spread the joy, spread the love, and let's go out there and prove that maybe with this yoga, we can make the world a little better place.